I never thought a single text could turn my entire week upside down. But that's exactly what happened. It was late, like the kind of late where the city outside your window feels empty, and even the hum of your fridge sounds too loud. I was sprawled on my bed, scrolling aimlessly through my phone, when a message popped up from a number I didn't immediately recognize. I froze. My heart started thumping like it had a mind of its own. My first thought, who even is this? But then it hit me. The number, it was my roommate's older sister, Mia. I'd met her a couple of times before. Always seemed friendly, a little mysterious, the type of person who walks into a room and somehow makes you feel like you're under a microscope. And now she was texting me like this, in the middle of the night, asking me to just come upstairs. Without knocking. I tried to play it cool at first, telling myself it was probably something simple. Maybe she needed help with something, or maybe it was a joke. But the words "don't knock" lingered in my mind, like a warning or maybe a trap. I couldn't tell which. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, debating whether I should just ignore it. But curiosity, that stupid, dangerous curiosity, won. As I got up, every little sound in the apartment felt amplified. The creak of the floorboards under my feet, the faint buzz of the street lamp outside, even the way my own breathing sounded. It all made my stomach twist into knots. I kept thinking, asterisk, what is she even doing up there? Why me? Asterisk, Mia had always been unpredictable. Sometimes friendly, sometimes distant, and always slightly off. There was this unspoken energy about her, something I could never quite figure out. And now she wanted me to come into her room, at night, and just, what? Wait, watch. I had no idea, and that uncertainty made my chest tighten with equal parts fear and excitement. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a moment, phone in hand, staring up into the dark hallway that led to her room. The apartment was silent except for my racing heartbeat. Part of me screamed to turn around, go back to my safe, boring room, and pretend this never happened. But another part, the part that got me into trouble more times than I can count, urged me forward. And so I took the first step, and then another, my mind spinning with possibilities. Was this a prank? A serious emergency? Or something else entirely? Something I wasn't ready for? I reached the top of the stairs, my hand hovering over her door. I could almost feel her watching me from the other side. And just as I was about to knock, or not knock, I realized something that made my blood run cold. Before that night, my life was normal, in the most boring way possible. College, part-time job, occasional video games, hanging out with friends. I had a roommate, Jake, who was good-natured but annoyingly oblivious to literally everything. And then there was Mia, Jake's older sister, who seemed to exist in her own orbit. She had this effortless confidence that made people pay attention, but at the same time, she had this wall around her that nobody could quite break through. I'd always thought of her as untouchable, someone you admire from afar. Jake and I had moved into our apartment at the start of the semester. Things were going smoothly until Mia started showing up more often. At first, it was harmless, dropping by with groceries, laughing at Jake's terrible jokes. But over time, I noticed these little moments, subtle, strange glances that made me wonder if she saw me differently than everyone else. There was nothing overt, nothing I could call out directly, just a vibe. And now, with that text, that vibe had escalated into something I didn't know how to handle. Leading up to that night, nothing had really prepared me for Mia. She had this way of making ordinary moments feel charged with something unspoken. Even casual conversations felt like a test, a subtle challenge I didn't know I was participating in. She'd ask questions that seemed innocent but lingered longer in your mind than they should. Like the day she casually asked me if I ever get lonely when Jake isn't around, or when she commented on how I arrange my things in my room. Small observations, but the way she said them made it feel personal. And yet, I liked talking to her. Part of me wanted to impress her, wanted to figure her out, even though my brain screamed I was treading dangerous territory. I knew this was exactly the kind of situation that could backfire spectacularly, but I also couldn't seem to stop myself from noticing every little thing she did. So that night, when her text appeared, a whole storm of thoughts crashed through my head. Asterisk, was this a prank? Was she serious? Did Jake know? What even happens if I go upstairs? Asterisk, each thought pulled me in a different direction, and I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, not sure whether to jump or run away. I should have stayed put. I should have ignored it. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially when it's tangled up with attraction, mystery, and the undeniable sense that you're about to witness something unusual. And that's how I found myself standing outside her door, my hand hovering over the handle, listening to the faintest shuffle from inside. My stomach churned, my heart raced, and my mind went blank. There was no turning back now. Whatever waited inside that room wasn't just a conversation. Something had shifted, something I hadn't anticipated. And then I heard it. A whisper, so soft I almost didn't catch it. The moment I opened the door, I realized how completely unprepared I was. The room was dimly lit, only the faint glow from a lamp in the corner casting long shadows across the walls. Mia was sitting on the edge of her bed, her posture relaxed, but her eyes were sharp, almost calculating, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Hey," I said, my voice sounding small even to myself. "Hey," she replied, with that same calm, deliberate tone that somehow made everything feel heavier. "I knew you'd come." I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing heart. Yeah, I got your text." What's going on?" She tilted her head slightly, studying me like I was both a puzzle and a prize. "It's complicated," she said, almost teasingly. "But you've got to trust me for now." I wanted to laugh it off, but the tension in the room was suffocating. Every instinct screamed that I was stepping into something I didn't understand, something that could spiral out of control if I wasn't careful. My mind ran through every scenario. Was this some kind of game? Was she serious? Or was I reading too much into a text in a late-night meeting that was supposed to be innocent? The air between us felt charged, like static electricity ready to spark at any moment. I could hear my own breathing, too loud in the quiet room, and for a second I thought I saw her smile. But it was fleeting, almost unreadable. "Look," I started, trying to sound calm. "I don't even know why I'm here. Can you just tell me what this is about?" She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees, her expression unreadable. "I wanted to show you something," she said softly. "Something you wouldn't expect. Something you'll have to see for yourself." My stomach dropped. I had no idea what she meant. Every part of me wanted to step back, to leave and pretend this night never happened. But curiosity, and maybe a foolish part of me, kept me rooted to the spot. Then, just as I was about to ask her again, the lights flickered, and a strange sound echoed from the corner of the room, like something sliding across the floor. I froze. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Mia's eyes glimmered in the dim light. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she tilted her head and smiled in a way that made my chest tighten. "Yes," she said, almost too casually. "Yuti, don't worry, it's part of what I need you to see." And in that moment, I realized, whatever this was, it wasn't going to be simple. I froze where I stood, staring at Mia as the sound in the corner grew louder. It wasn't quite a thump, not quite a slide. It was somewhere in between, like something heavy being dragged across the floor. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing in the quiet room. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but my curiosity, that stupid, dangerous curiosity, held me in place. Mia's gaze never left me. There was a strange intensity in her eyes now, something I hadn't noticed before. It was like she was daring me to move, daring me to find out what was going on. "Don't be scared," she said softly, almost hypnotically. "I promise you won't regret this." I didn't know whether to take her seriously. Every rational part of my brain screamed that this was a mistake. But another part, maybe the part that had always been drawn to danger, to the thrill of the unknown, urged me forward. Slowly, I took a step toward the corner. The shadows shifted. I could see a vague shape moving, but it was hard to tell what it was. My stomach twisted, my pulse racing faster than ever. What is that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood and walked toward me, her movement fluid and deliberate, like she knew exactly how I'd react. "You'll see soon enough," she said. And then, just as I thought I might ask again, she reached out and grabbed my hand, lightly, almost teasingly, and led me closer to the corner. The closer we got, the more I could make out the shape. It was strange. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but it didn't look like anything I had expected. My mind raced through possibilities, none of them making any sense. The air felt thick, almost heavy, and I could hear the faintest sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. "You're sure you want to see this?" Mia asked, her voice low and calm. There was no pressure in her words, just that same intensity, that magnetic pull that had kept me there despite every warning. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was bravery or stupidity. I wanted to pull back, to run to the safety of my room and pretend none of this had happened. But part of me, an undeniable, reckless part, wanted to know, to see whatever it was that Mia had brought me here for. She smiled again, that unreadable, mysterious smile, and in one smooth motion, she moved whatever was in the corner into the dim light. I squinted, trying to make sense of it. My stomach lurched. My mind went blank. And then she said it. Those words that made me realize the night was about to spiral far beyond anything I had imagined. You're going to want to see this, but I should warn you. Once you do, there's no going back. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. My hands were clammy. The room felt smaller, almost suffocating. My curiosity screamed at me to lean in, to see it for myself. But another voice, the voice that had been screaming danger, 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 urged me to stop. And that's when I finally saw it. I blinked, trying to process what I was seeing. At first, it didn't make sense. It looked like a normal object, harmless even, but then my brain caught up, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just an object. It was a message meant for me. Scrawled across the surface in shaky handwriting were words that made my chest tighten and my mind spin. Asterisk. I've been waiting for you. Don't trust anyone. Asterisk. My eyes darted to Mia, who was watching me with that same calm, unreadable expression. But something had changed. There was a flicker of something behind her eyes. Urgency, maybe even fear. Suddenly, it wasn't just a late-night prank, a game, or a mysterious thrill. Something bigger, something I didn't understand yet, was happening. Before I could react, my phone buzzed. Another text. This time, it wasn't from Mia. It was from Jake. Asterisk. Call me. Now. Don't go upstairs. Asterisk. My heart stopped. Confusion, fear, and adrenaline collided all at once. What had I walked into? And why did it feel like the entire world had suddenly turned against me, starting with the person I thought I could trust the most? I realized, with a sinking feeling, that nothing in this night would ever be the same. The room felt smaller now, suffocating almost, as I tried to process Jake's text in one hand and the scrawled message in the other. My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. Mia stepped closer, her eyes calm but intense, and I realized I had to decide, now, whether to stay or run. Listen, she said softly, almost urgently. I didn't mean for it to get this complicated, but you needed to see the truth. The truth? I asked, my voice shaking. What truth? She hesitated, then pointed toward the corner again. I swallowed hard and turned, expecting some explanation, some object that would finally make sense of the night. But instead, I saw a series of photos spread across the floor, photos of me. Photos from days, weeks, months ago. Photos of me at school, in the apartment, even asleep in my room. My stomach sank. You've been watching me? I whispered, disbelief and fear colliding. Mia shook her head quickly. No, not like that. I was protecting you. I thought someone else was watching you first. That's why I texted you tonight, to warn you. Before I could respond, the bedroom door burst open. Jake stormed in, face pale and tense. What the hell is going on? Why is she here, and why were you texting me? The room went silent for a heartbeat. And then Mia's calm voice dropped into a whisper, almost conspiratorial. You don't understand, the real danger isn't me. It's him. I turned, confused, to see Jake stiffen, his eyes darting toward the doorway behind him. And there, in the shadows, I finally saw movement. Another figure, impossibly quiet, watching, waiting. My heart nearly stopped. Before I could react, the figure stepped forward, and it wasn't who I expected. It was someone I thought I could trust. And just like that, the night exploded into chaos, confusion, and fear, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about Mia, Jake, and even myself. Every instinct screamed to run, but I couldn't, because the truth, whatever it was, had only just begun to reveal itself. And in that moment, I realized the biggest shock wasn't what I saw, it was who I had trusted all along. The room finally settled into silence, the chaos of moments before hanging in the air like smoke. My chest heaved, my hands were trembling, and every nerve in my body was on high alert. I wanted answers, and Mia seemed to know it. She stepped closer, her calmness almost grounding me. "Look," she said softly, "I never meant to scare you. I just needed you to see the truth before it was too late." I stared at her, struggling to understand. The truth about what? About Jake? About me? About what was watching me? Mia let out a small sigh. "There are people who watch, who manipulate, who lie. I found out someone was keeping tabs on you long before tonight. That's why I sent the text. I needed you here, so you'd be aware, so you wouldn't fall into the trap." Jake, still pale and tense, finally spoke. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." His voice was shaky, honest, but I wasn't sure if I could fully believe him yet. I glanced around the room, at the scattered photos, the faint shadow of the other figure who had already retreated into the dark, and the tension in Mia's eyes. Slowly, the pieces began to make sense. The fear, the mystery, the messages, it wasn't about her, or even Jake. It was about protection, about someone finally stepping in before things got worse. I felt a strange mixture of relief and lingering unease. The night had been terrifying, yes, but it had also shown me something important. Trust, curiosity, and courage are delicate. They can put you in danger, but they can also save you. Mia gave me a small, reassuring smile. "You're safe now. That's all that matters tonight." I nodded, still trying to calm my racing heart. "Yes, safe? I guess." Jake stepped forward and clapped a hand on my shoulder. "I owe you an explanation, and probably an apology." I laughed softly, the tension finally giving way. It wasn't perfect, and some things would always remain unresolved, but in that moment, it felt like a fragile kind of peace. The night had tested me, scared me, and pushed me to the edge, but it had also reminded me who my real allies were. And as I left Mia's room, I realized something profound. Life doesn't always give you clear answers. Sometimes, the most important lessons come wrapped in confusion, fear, and the unexpected. What matters is how you respond, who you trust, and what you choose to do when everything seems uncertain. I returned to my room, sat on my bed, and exhaled deeply. My phone buzzed once more. Jake checking in, nothing urgent. I smiled, a little shaken but wiser, and realized that even in chaos, people can step up, truth can prevail, and trust, however fragile, can still hold strong. But just as I turned off the light, a tiny flicker from the corner of my room caught my eye. I froze. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message. From an unknown number. Asterisk, this isn't over. Asterisk, and just like that, I realized some nights don't end. They just set the stage for the next chapter. If you want, I can also create a fully combined YouTube-ready script with all 7 parts, polished for pacing, hooks, and cliffhangers, so it's ready to film. This can include natural pauses, conversational phrasing, and visual cues. Do you want me to do that next?